What's your count? Now think. They'll go outside sure as hell. It's not us.
It all starts in the spring.
You look like a butterball. Now move. Hey, let's go. Get your ball.
There we go.
It continues into the fall.
Nuts! Who was in motion?
Wrong left. Get off on the ball, real fast on the ball. What's the movement of that ball? Boom!
36,000 play it, and 30 million watch it. After more than 2,000 games of football, one man rises to the top. To him goes the sport's highest honor. This Heisman Trophy Special is brought to you by the Consumer Products Division of DuPont, makers of easy-to-use Lucite paints, the Work Skippers, Rally Cream Wax, the half-hour car wax, and new anti-leak Xerox antifreeze, guaranteed not to run out on you.
We're going to drive home a point about new anti-leak Xerox antifreeze. It stops most common radiator leaks, just like that. We guarantee it will stop and prevent leaks in your car radiator for a full year. Or just write DuPont and get your money back. Only Xerox antifreeze is guaranteed not to run out on you, in cans or jugs.
What is the Heisman Trophy?
The Heisman Trophy?
The Heisman Trophy.
What is the Heisman Trophy?
The Heisman Trophy to me is just the ultimate. Steve Spurrier won it a couple years ago. That's all I can tell you about it.
I've heard of it, but I don't recall.
Who is eligible to win it?
Mostly goes to quarterbacks and halfbacks.
He has to be a college student.
I think it's an award for quarterbacks.
Any position is eligible. I don't think they should single out one person.
What must a player do to win the trophy?
Well, he has to play great football, I guess.
I think he has to impress a panel of magazine writers, as far as I'm concerned. Okayed by newsmen.
Well, he's got to have real good politics.
How many yards he's gained and maybe touchdowns, passes, you know.
I think he's got to not only be good on the field, but sort of good off the field, too, and provide a good leadership example to his teammates and to the rest of the student body and the country in general.
You get awarded for football like O.J. Simpson did.
The officers, governors, and members of the Downtown Athletic Club, I'm delighted to present to you this 34th Heisman Trophy, symbolic of your achievement as the outstanding collegiate football player in the country. Congratulations, O.J.
Thank you. Thank you.
Here's your trophy.
In spite of the headlines, O.J. Simpson and his predecessors brought the Heisman Trophy, not many people really know what it is. That's one of the things this program is about. It's also about some of the college heroes who won the trophy, what happened to them, and what the trophy did for them. I'm Lindsey Nelson on the campus of the University of Pennsylvania, where John Heisman played varsity football in 1890 and 1891, and where he later coached. In between, he became one of the first great innovators of American football, and that's why New York's Downtown Athletic Club named their trophy after him. As early as 1903, Heisman was advocating the forward pass to open up the game. He was one of the first coaches to use an offensive shift. With it, his 1917 Golden Tornadoes of Georgia Tech tore up the South. At Penn in 1921, he showed game film to his players, which may be the earliest use of coaching films. Heisman may not have invented the bulletin board, but the do's and don'ts he posted on it set the tone for many who followed him. Number 1 said, "Don't fumble. You might better have died when a little boy." The trophy, which bears his name, is awarded to the outstanding college football player each year. He is elected by a group of 1,200 sports writers, broadcasters, and telecasters, chosen by the Heisman Trophy Committee of the Downtown Athletic Club, which has no further voice in the selection of the winner. The first one in 1935 went to Jay Berwanger of the University of Chicago. In the years that followed, the Heisman Trophy became the highest honor that a young man can win on the football field.
The Heisman Trophy is the most highly respected and sought-after trophy in American college football.
It's probably the papa of all of them.
Well, Heisman Trophy is a tradition. I think right now we need to keep a few traditions intact.
I would think that next to winning all your games, that would be the height of a player's ambition.
There's a lot of ballyhoo on it. There's a lot of color. There's a lot of fanfare. And I think this helps the college game.
There are, however, several compelling questions we must try to answer. Is the Heisman Trophy always given to the nation's best football player? Does the lineman have a chance? Is it possible to pick one outstanding player in a team sport? The answers highlight the next 60 minutes.
Thank you. Okay, sweetie, let's see you stir and stroke.
Well, I use lucite. I skip the stirring.
Yeah? Then paint some and drip a little. I want to see how you wipe up the drips.
But I use lucite. It doesn't make a drippy mess. I skip wiping.
Oh, yeah? Well, let's see you clean up.
But I use lucite. All I need is soap and water. I skip that mess. Any more questions?
Just one. Will you marry me?
In offices like this one, on campuses across the country, many football players become football heroes. This is a publicity office. Here, a sports information director feeds facts and figures to the press about a boy who scores touchdowns. Without publicity, O.J. Simpson would not have won the Heisman Trophy. It is important that fans from Maine to Alaska see, read about, and talk about the young hero. If he is a quarterback, the job is not so difficult. Quarterbacks naturally make headlines. If he attends a nationally known college like Notre Dame, the job is even easier. The Irish have produced 4 quarterbacks who won the Heisman Trophy. The director of publicity at Notre Dame during those glory days was Charlie Callahan.
Angelo Vitale was the first Notre Dame Heisman Trophy winner, and it was for him and his great passing talents. The T formation was brought into Notre Dame because he certainly took advantage of it in his senior year. Then his team won the national championship. Johnny Lujak's last 2 years after he came back from service were 46 and 47. And there are a fair number of teams that have gone 2 years undefeated. But I think Notre Dame of 46, 47 was the only team that was never behind for a single second in 2 years. And John Lujak was the quarterback of those 2 teams.
During John Hewitt's senior year at Notre Dame, I was doing the NCAA College Game of the Week on television with Terry Brennan, former head coach at Notre Dame. We had finished a Notre Dame game in which there had been several spectacular passes from Hewitt to Jack Snow. On the way to the airport, in the taxi, Brennan looked at me and said, "I think John Hewitt's going to win the Heisman Trophy. Maybe Jack Snow should win it." But it seems that if the arm is good and there is much publicity, it's the passer who gets the lion's share, and the receiver is frequently overlooked. The publicity was so convincing that quarterback Hewitt signed a pro contract for $200,000. In 4 years, he has started 1 game. Another Notre Dame quarterback to win the Heisman Trophy was Paul Hornung. His was a rare victory. The Irish lost 8 games, but Hornung sparkled in defeat, leading Notre Dame in running, passing, scoring, kicking, and defense. Paul Hornung earned his headlines. Horning's victory was a controversial one. In the South, fans felt they had a player who better deserved the honor. 10 years later, the problem arose again. In 1966, two quarterbacks, Steve Spurrier of Florida and Bob Greasy of Purdue, were neck and neck for the Heisman Award. At Florida, once again, it was the North versus the South.
In 1956, Paul Horning played on a Notre Dame football team that was 2-8. And on that same year, Johnny Majors was a great tailback, statistically as good as there was in the nation, on a Tennessee team that was #1 in the nation, unbeaten, great football team. And of course, Horning won the Heisman Trophy. So what we tried to do was to convince the Southern voters in each state that we needed to get as many people registered as we could and get them out voting, and all vote for Steve, because this definitely could happen again to a Southern boy who deserved it. And we just sort of tried to make it appear, you know, the dirty Yankees are going to do the South in again.
While these two seniors played their hearts out, the real battle took place in the publicity office.
The Heisman Trophy definitely is a popularity contest, and there's a little bit of press agentry involved in popularity, naturally. However, I don't think we at Purdue try to overemphasize a candidate for the Heisman Trophy.
In Steve's case, it really began in the spring before his senior year. In March, we put out a booklet and in which we called him Heisman Trophy candidate Steve Spurrier instead of All-America candidate.
Our feeling is that the Heisman Trophy is won on the merits of the player.
As the season began, we sent out a color, about a minute-and-a-half tape on him to about 500 stations and various media across the country, tried to concentrate it out of the South. Coach Graves here has got a theory that he wants to get national recognition for athletes, and he wants us to do the job, and whatever money it takes to do the job, that's what we're going to do.
I don't think you fool the public much. Mass media recognizes the ability of an athlete. We get enough promotion in promoting the team alone that the individual himself will stand out.
Pepper Rogers, who's a good friend of mine, was coaching at UCLA at the time, and they had Gary Beeben, and Pepper wrote me a letter during October of that year in which he said that it looked to him as if Spurrier was getting more exposure on the Los Angeles TV stations than Beeben was.
There is also pressure on the player to justify all the publicity. Spurrier completed more passes than Greasy. However, Greasy passed and ran for one more touchdown than Spurrier. Both men led their teams to 8-2 records and bowl victories.
Professional performance of Bob Greasy substantiates our backing of him as a Heisman Trophy candidate.
Pro football is a different game. This is a college award. It's for what they do in intercollegiate football, not later on in their careers in pro football, and I don't think there's any way that you could connect it with the Heisman Trophy.
So why all the effort? Why does a university spend all the time and money hoping to produce a Heisman Trophy winner? Maybe the answer, again, comes from Florida.
I imagine we sent out 2,500 to 3,000 pictures of Steve to mainly little kids all over the country, but these are things that just help promote your program. I mean, I like for a little boy 8 or 9 years old in Michigan to have a picture of Steve Spurrier on his wall. I think it's good for the University of Florida.
If a successful campaign produces a Heisman Trophy winner, that in turn produces national publicity for the university. And maybe that little boy in Michigan, if he plays football, just might go to Florida someday. In 1962, Oregon State's Terry Baker was the nation's cover boy. A skinny 6'3", Baker was a left-handed rollout quarterback. After winning every major award of the year, Baker was the top draft choice of the Los Angeles Rams. During his 3 disappointing seasons in pro football, Terry Baker went to law school and is now an attorney in Portland, Oregon. In 1963, another young quarterback captured the nation's football fans. Roger the Dodger Staubach won the Heisman Trophy because he made every play an adventure. He was a scrambling sailor who ran Navy to 2 wins over Army. after 4 years in the Navy, Roger Staubach hopes to become a professional quarterback with the Dallas Cowboys. In 1967, writers and broadcasters named Gary Beban the Great One and voted him the Heisman Trophy. Beban is UCLA's all-time offense leader, a record he set before his senior year. Beban, like Staubach, is fighting to be a professional quarterback. Five of the last 7 Heisman Trophy winners have been quarterbacks. As we've said, they're easy to publicize. Any one of a good number of passers could be the favorite this year. One of them is quarterback Mike Phipps of Purdue, a senior, a little bit cautious when mentioning the Heisman Trophy, but a boy who will get his share of publicity.
There's many players that are capable of winning the Heisman Trophy, and to single out one is a great honor, but you're leaving a lot of players behind who deserve the honor too. But it's a goal that many players would like to have, but they don't like to think about. Football is a team performance, not an individual performance, and to get involved with your own desires might affect your performance, and you won't give your fellow players a fair shake. You're not playing for them, you're playing for yourself, and I think this can hurt your performance and surely the team. It's really more than an individual thing, I think. It takes a lot of team support, a lot of publicity.
He sacrifices himself on the football field. Certainly, we feel we can sacrifice plenty of our time to promote him. We're going to use probably more film clips than we have in the past. Television has changed lots of theories in sports promotion. If I can swing it, maybe we can spend a $10,000 budget on film this year. 50 TV stations instead of 25. We like to isolate our players on Thursday and Friday. This is a ruling the coach has asked for. We will try then to pick up the lost ground of Thursday and Friday with a Saturday locker room interview with him, post-game interview, and make him probably more available on Sunday than we did Bob Greasy or Leroy Keys.
And so we begin to understand the importance of publicity. If the pen is truly as mighty as the past, maybe the Heisman Trophy should read to the best-known football player in America, not necessarily the best.
DuPont introduces the half-hour car wax. Raleigh Cream Car Wax. So easy to use, you can wax your car in just half an hour. And you get a shine that will last through as many miles of mud and slush and detergent washings as hard-to-use paste waxes. DuPont Raleigh, the half-hour car wax. Test drive it.
I think the Heisman Trophy people will have to be careful that the award doesn't become an award for the outstanding college back every year. I think there's going to have to be some emphasis placed on what a great lineman or a great linebacker can do for a football team.
Since 1935, 34 players have won the Heisman Trophy. Not one has been a tackle, guard, or center. Only 2 have been linemen, both pass-catching ends, players who ran with the football and scored touchdowns. The first was Larry Kelly of Yale in 1936. The second was Leon Hart in 1949. Hart, now a market analyst living in Troy, Michigan, played 4 years for Notre Dame. The Irish never lost a game during that period.
People looking at a football game
normally watch the backfield man carrying the ball or the end receiving the ball or somebody who they can attach themselves to and imagine themselves being in their shoes. Lineman's main chore is to beat the man across from him. But the people in the stands are not aware of what efforts he's putting forth. With the votings of the various newspaper people who do vote in the Heisman Trophy for this outstanding player, they, in different parts of the country, can't recognize this interplay between player across the line from player across the line.
Hart, number 82, was the exception. He did attract national attention. In 1949, most players specialized in either offense or defense, but Hart played both for a Notre Dame team that won the national championship. The Irish were featured on nationwide TV every week, adding to Hart's publicity.
You have to have both ability and good publicity to win this Heisman Trophy. And I think probably the linemen do have the ability, however they lack the publicity.
Who blocked the line? Did you block the linebacker? Well, who went to his knees right away?
At Penn State, there is a man who has the ability and is getting the publicity. Tackle Mike Reed is unique. He plays rugged football and classical piano.
Good protection, all right. Let's go!
There are very few people across the country playing football this year who really actually believe they will win the Heisman Trophy. I can remember Dick Butkus was my idol for years, and Merlin Olsen and Deacon Jones and all the people who really epitomize what football is today. Regardless, for any interior lineman to win this award, it would be more or less a representation, I think, of what they missed in their college days, and truly that can be looked at as nothing but a great honor.
If Mike Reed does win the Heisman Trophy, or has any chance to win it, he's going to do it without the benefit of a hard sell campaign on my part.
If they give it to a lineman, I would think that probably Mike Reed is going to be as fine a lineman as there is in the country.
I don't believe in sending out flyers soliciting votes. Please vote for my boy for All-American or the Heisman Trophy or what have you. I just don't think that's how it should be done.
So Penn State will let Reed's action speak for him.
So if Mike Reed does it, he'll do it on his own with the help, of course, of publicity and public relations, but done, I think, in the right way and not the hard sell method.
Mike Reed may not win the Heisman Trophy this year, but as a lineman, he represents a type of player whose skills are just as vital to victory as the quarterback or a running back. In my own experience, I know in some of the early years when I participated in the poll, I wasn't even consciously aware that an interior lineman was eligible to win the Heisman Trophy. Frequently, schools have conducted campaigns on behalf of outstanding stars, mostly quarterbacks, running backs. I don't recall ever having received calls or mailers from schools with regard to a campaign for an interior lineman.
Where you going, buddy? Right in the mouth. All right, he's coming right your mouth there. Okay, let's go, Kenny. There it is, right there.
Every year, some 10,000 linemen give and take punishment to perfect their skills, and none has ever won the Heisman Trophy.
Tough game, tough game.
Playing in the line is a tough, dirty job with small reward. The roar of the crowd and the dreams of the fans are centered around the man who carries the football. These historically are the game's heroes. 23 running backs have won the Heisman Trophy. To them go the pigskin, the points, and the praise. World War II left its mark on Heisman Trophy winners. Niall Kinnick, Iowa, 1939, killed in action. Tom Harmon, Michigan, 1940, his pro football career cut short by wartime injuries. Bruce Smith, Minnesota, 1941, qualified as a flyer in the Army Air Corps. Frank Sinkwich, Georgia, 1942, received the trophy while in the Marines. On the home front, during the latter part of World War II, the names Blanchard and Davis dominated the sports pages as much as the names Eisenhower and MacArthur dominated the front pages. Felix Doc Blanchard, a 205-pound fullback who could pound an enemy line like an American tank. Glenn Davis, the mercury-footed halfback who could run with the speed of a guided missile. Today, Davis is director of special events of the Los Angeles Times. Blanchard is a colonel in the Air Force with 114 missions flown in Vietnam. For the first time since they made the movie, The Spirit of West Point, Blanchard and Davis get together in Los Angeles, and their conversation turns to their famous coach, Colonel Red Blake.
He was really terrific, I thought, for putting in a play at the right time, calling a play at the right time.
But one of the plays we'd put in was called the California Special, where you would run the ball.
It was a swing pass that Tucker would shoot out to me going left, and I tried to pick up the box and cut back, and if we're lucky, we go all the way.
This was the Army battle plan of the mid-40s. Davis romped outside, Blanchard pounded inside.
Doc, in your 3 years of college football, West Point, what ball game or run stands out in your mind the most?
Glenn, I think the 1945 Army-Navy game would probably be the one I'd have to pick out. I made 2 or 3 runs in that game that I thought were pretty good. I was pretty proud of.
You made 3 touchdowns, didn't you? I remember now. You went right up the middle and then hit the sidelines and down the sidelines, didn't you?
Yeah, I think so.
Taking 3 or 4 guys with you. Doc, I think the last touchdown that you and I had anything to do with was in the Army-Navy game. I think I threw you a button hook, and you used your speed and went all the way. Remember that? I can still remember that Army-Navy game. Remember, we almost got beat.
Yeah, that was a pretty tough ball game.
I remember I thought the score was 21-0 at the half, and I went in at the halftime thinking we were going to beat them about 50-0.
Yeah, it was too easy the first half.
This one may have been close, but Army never lost a game that Blanchard and Davis played together.
When the gun went off at the final play of the game, the score was 21-18, and they were on our, 5-yard line?
The guy who made the last tackle was Barney Poole.
What's Barney doing now?
Somebody told me he's coaching football down in Mississippi and is big as a house.
I can believe as big as a house. He always was as big as a house, as a matter of fact.
Well, he's doing real good, though.
This exhibition game with the professional New York Giants was the last competition together for Glenn Davis and Doc Blanchard. Davis, returning a punt, ruptured a ligament in his right knee. Glenn Davis would never be the same again.
Doc, I'm delighted that there's another Blanchard in football.
Tony's going to be a big boy.
How big is he?
Well, he's 6'3" and weighs about 230, 235.
Maybe one of these days there'll be two Blanchards on the Heisman Trophy list.
Well, I'd like to think so, Glenn. We think an awful lot of Tony and his abilities and the things he wants to do. I know the Heisman Trophy to me was a high point in my career. It's a very prestigious thing. Through the years, I think it's something that I've cherished and it's meant quite a lot to me.
Recognition meant a lot to Doc Blanchard and Glenn Davis at the height of their football careers. But fame and recognition is fleeting, I suppose, because at an Army-Navy game a few years ago, I was going up through the stands and I looked over in the middle of the Army section, on the Army side of the field, of course, and there, sitting with his son, was Doc Blanchard. I waved, he waved back, and I went on up into the stands thinking that it's highly unusual that Doc Blanchard could attend an Army-Navy game totally unnoticed. In 1958, Pete Dawkins became the Army's third Heisman Trophy winner. Dawkins was the complete West Point student. He was captain of cadets, senior class president, captain of the football team, ranked 5th in his graduating class, winning a Rhodes Scholarship. On the field, his versatility led Army to an undefeated season. To Pete Dawkins, the challenge of pro football went unanswered. He played rugby as a Rhodes Scholar at Oxford, was a war hero in Vietnam, and is working for his doctorate at the Woodrow Wilson School of International Affairs at Princeton. Further north, in Massachusetts, another Service Academy graduate who tried his hand at pro ball is still at it, in the front office.
Several months ago, I signed with the Lowell Giants as general manager. The Lowell Giants is in the Atlantic Coast Football League. And my main responsibility is recruiting, some scouting, ticket sales, promotion of the club. I'm from Boston, so the publicity I've got in the past has helped me. And I think the Heisman Trophy award will continue to help me as long as I live.
Joe the Jet, they called him at Navy in 1960. Bellino's loose-legged style was unparalleled. Joe recalls that his training was unique, too.
I used to run anywhere from 5 to 10 miles in the woods 3 or 4 times a week. Once the season began, I used to play a game with one of our coaches. He would plank himself about 20 or 30 yards, and the object was for me to get around him. We would play a game of tag. This type of practicing before the season, running in the woods, jumping over logs, running up rocks, and leaping off them, helped me quite a bit in my style.
After 4 years in the Navy, Joe Bellino tried pro football as a player and didn't quite make it.
The problems I had returning to football was not any physical problems, being too small or losing my quickness, but it was the mental attitude in the game. When you play football year after year after year, there are things you do instinctively. And I found that after a 4-year layoff, when I went into training camp, I had to think about running. And I had to think about where the tackler was coming from. And this was probably my biggest problem going back into pro football.
The pride that guides Army-Navy heroes to serve their country also robs them of years of athletic achievement. Roger Staubach, a quarterback, will try to make it this year in the pros. The test will be difficult. But to graduate from a service academy, to play football, to win the Heisman Trophy, none is easy, but all are rewarding.
We're going to drive home a point about new anti-leak Zerex antifreeze. It stops most common radiator leaks, just like that. We guarantee it will stop and prevent leaks in your car radiator for a full year. Or just write DuPont and get your money back. Only Zerex antifreeze is guaranteed not to run out on you, in cans or jugs.
halfbacks who can fake a safety and fill a stadium, fame and glory are the rewards. O.J. Simpson is the latest Heisman Trophy winner, and many say the greatest. But you could probably get a pretty good argument from the fans of Billy Vessels, Hopalong Cassidy, or Ernie Davis. An exciting runner can capture the imagination of an entire country as his popularity soars. The sky is the limit. The year 1948 produced a perfect marriage, SMU and Doak Walker, a union that almost didn't take place. 2 years earlier, Doak nearly followed his high school teammate Bobby Lane to Texas. But instead, Walker picked SMU and played against Lane his first game just 5 days later.
I went to SMU that Tuesday afternoon and enrolled. We worked out Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, and then SMU played Texas Saturday, and Bobby started the game for University of Texas, and I started for SMU, and we both played 60 minutes.
Good afternoon, Fishback and Moore. Mr. Walker's office.
Well, this is my office here in Detroit. I am Vice President in charge of corporate sales in the Detroit area for Fishback and Moore. We are a national large electrical contractor.
Walker remembers the glamour that surrounded him in 1947 and 48. When Doak Walker got the football, the stadium exploded with excitement. He could make any play go all the way. But maybe number 37 had a more important role to play in a country trying to forget the ugliness of World War II. Walker was the clean-living, good-looking hero whose talents thrill millions and whose face brightened the magazine cover. Doak Walker guided SMU to 2 Southwest Conference championships and won the Heisman Trophy as a junior. He also became a national idol with all the obligations that go with it.
I remember when I received the award, and what a great day it was. I was just floating, I guess, for 3 or 4 months after it. But the demands that you all of a sudden you become into the public life, you're actually owned by the public. I really don't know whether I was really ready or not to be educated as fast as I was after receiving the Heisman Award. The kids today are maybe a little more educated. I don't know where you go to a school in order to learn how to accept the public or the demands especially that are put on you. You have to go here, you go there. You don't live a normal life.
Doak Walker may have received more publicity than any college player prior to O.J. Simpson.
It opens a lot of doors after you get into business, and I'm proud to have been a Heisman winner.
In 1949, as a senior, Doak Walker was injured for nearly half the season. He wrote Collier's, the magazine that picked the All-America team then, the following letter. I believe that there are other All-America candidates who have seen more action and therefore are more deserving of consideration than me. It was the first and only time that a player has removed himself from consideration for national honors. The Ohio State campus has changed some in the last 20 years. It was here in 1950 that Vic Janowitz won the Heisman Trophy. There are 2 traditions that haven't changed. The Buckeyes' rugged football team and the 80,000 fans who encourage them. To Vic Janowitz, it is a vivid memory.
1950 was a year when they started the two-platoon football, and this is how we started the ball game. I kicked off. When we got the ball, I called the plays. If I didn't run the ball, I kicked it, and if they would intercept one of my passes, I was there to play defense. And I think what struck the eye of the reporters throughout the state or throughout the country was that I did so many things. You know, it's funny, you think of 1950, when I was playing for the Buckeyes here at Ohio State, I never even heard of the Heisman Award. It gives me such satisfaction because the Heisman Award trophy is probably the most beautiful trophy ever seen, and I have one. And I'm proud of it. And anybody that plays football, I think their ultimate goal should be to be the best football player in a country and try to receive the Heisman Award. There's only one given out a year, and it really means something to you. It does to me, really.
Dick Janowitz tried professional baseball and football after college. He seemed to be coming into his own with the Washington Redskins when a tragic automobile accident ended his playing days. He is now a salesman in Columbus, Ohio.
Historic Princeton, where they've played football for 100 years. Where ivy-clad Nassau Street was the gridiron capital of the East in the early 50s. This was the kingdom of Dick Kazmaier.
My sophomore year in the fall of 1949 was really the start of Princeton's successful 22-game winning streak. Charlie Caldwell, our coach, had come back here after the war and had not met with great success prior to that time, but we managed to win 6 of our 9 games that year. We ended up the season winning 4 straight, and from that point on, during my next 2 years, we didn't lose.
When Dick Kazmaier struck from that Princeton single wing, nobody really knew whether he would pass, kick, or run. He won the Heisman Award by the largest margin of anyone up to 1951.
The Heisman Trophy has to be put in the perspective of being a great feeling at the time to have been so honored, but as far as my life has been concerned, the things I've done are pretty much what I would have done, I think, had I not been a Heisman Trophy winner. I was a single-wing tailback. The T formation had pretty well taken hold in the National Football League, and I would have had to make an adjustment. The immediate short-term gains of playing pro football were nearly as substantial as they are now. In fact, if I had to use a percentage, they might not have been 10% of what they are for a Heisman Trophy winner today. If I were a senior today, I certainly would find it quite difficult to turn down an opportunity to play pro football. The financial rewards just for signing or starting to play are tremendous for a person who's had a good deal of publicity, and I think I would have almost been forced to sign a contract and to make a go of it.
Dick Kazmaier never did play pro football. He is a successful businessman near Princeton.
Alan Amici, John David Crow, and Mike Garrett all won the Heisman Trophy when pro football was well established. The money was there, they took it, and played.
For 4 years, Alan Amici banged enemy lines for Wisconsin.
Receiving the Heisman Trophy was probably the greatest thrill that I had experienced in all the time that I played ball through high school and college.
Amici signed with the Baltimore Colts and ran 79 yards the first time he got the ball as a pro. Amici is now a partner with Gino Marchetti in the Gino's restaurant chain.
Los Angeles Memorial Coliseum. I played my athletic career in USC here, and this is probably the stadium where I probably played my best football.
One of Mike Garrett's biggest plays was this 79-yard touchdown run against Stanford. It illustrates the type of speed that won Mike the Heisman Trophy in 1965.
The Heisman Trophy financially is a great award to anyone who receives it, and I say award because you are awarded so much money through the Heisman Trophy. Through negotiating, I hypothesized that when I was negotiating with my contract and looking at other people like O.J. Simpson negotiate, I think it's worth at least $100,000.
Heisman Trophy winner Mike Garrett signed a professional contract estimated at $300,000.
Here's Gladys Goss, who just smashed all speed records in the interior enameling event, women's singles division.
That's single woman's division.
Tell us how you did it, Gladys.
New DuPont Lucite interior enamel, the work skipper. It goes on the trim so easily, no brush drag, and I can clean it with just soap and water. It dries in just 1 hour. It's perfect with Lucite wall paint. It looks just great.
As easy as having a man do it for you?
No, but a lot easier to get.
A college football hero lives forever. Every Heisman Trophy winner has taken his place in American gridiron history. During the past hour, we've met some, we've watched others. There is still one more. O.J. Simpson, respected by players and coaches.
I think it's very difficult to pick the Heisman Trophy winner most years. I think there are some years like this past year where O.J. Simpson was the outstanding college football player in the country, and there wasn't any doubt about it.
And immortalized in song by his fans.
O.J., do your thing today. Run right through them, not get to them. Okay, O.J., all the way.
O.J. was by far the best football player in the country last year, by far.
He's big and he's strong and he's fast, and I think, it's pretty hard to beat that combination.
O.J., do your thing today. Run right through them, not get to them. Okay, O.J., all the way.
I think his prospects are great, and I think he could probably revolutionize pro football.
Go, go, go! All the way with O.J. O.J., do your thing today. Run right through them, not get to them. Okay, O.J.,
At the beginning of this hour, we asked several questions we said we must try to answer. Does the Heisman method of voting really come up with the best player in any given year? The answer from coaches, players, and fans seems to be that it is as fair as it can be. But we have established that publicity is the key. 23 of the past winners came from the Midwest and the East. Only 3 came from the South. None came from small colleges. The only linemen ever honored were pass-catching ends. We would like to see an Outstanding Player Award based on expert evaluation of scouting data, similar to that compiled by pro scouts, so that every great player, regardless of where he goes to school or what position he plays, has an equal chance for recognition. Another question, should Heisman Trophy winners be expected to become successful professional players? The trophy is awarded for collegiate football achievement, not pro potential. However, 26 did play professionally, and 10 became outstanding stars. How do Heisman Trophy winners do once they leave football? In most cases, the fame opens business doors. Many are successful executives, some are professional men, and 9 are still in football. Finally, is the attempt to pick the best player each year good for football? The answer from everyone we encountered was a resounding yes. The Heisman Trophy creates interest for the fan and establishes a goal for the player. It is an invisible badge worn proudly by each winner, and echoing for all to hear, this man, in his year, was the very best.
DuPont introduces the half-hour car wax. Raleigh Cream Car Wax. So easy to use, you can wax your car in just half an hour. And you get a shine that will last through as many miles of mud and slush and detergent washings as hard-to-use paste waxes. DuPont Raleigh, the half-hour car wax. Test drive it.
This Heisman Trophy Special has been brought to you by the Consumer Products Division of DuPont, makers of easy-to-use lucite paints, the Work Skippers, Raleigh Cream Wax, the half-hour car wax, and new anti-leak Xerox antifreeze, guaranteed not to run out on you.